Using all the energy she has left, Melanie is trying to dig her way out of the ground to try to escape from a Wendigo. Unfortunately, the creature grabs her legs and pulls her back, so she kicks it in the face to get it off her and keeps on digging. Eventually she manages to come out, only to be found by the psycho. She begs for her life, saying she can't die again, but the psycho still kills her with a pickaxe. A year later, Melanie's sister Clover and her friends are driving to the area where Melanie disappeared, hoping to find some clues. The last message they got from her is a video she recorded in front of a gas station in which she explained she couldn't stay home after her mother died. The group arrives at the same gas station and Megan, who claims to be a psychic, makes everyone hold hands to see if they can channel Melanie's energy. However, they're interrupted by an RV almost running over them. Clover enters the gas station and shows a picture of Melanie to the clerk Hill. He doesn't recognize her, but he correctly guesses that she's missing and explains that people go missing in Glore Valley all the time. Then Clover tells her friends that they're going to Glore Valley next. That night, the group is still driving through a heavy storm. It's hard to see ahead, so they begin arguing over what to do. Suddenly the car bursts through heavier rain only to appear on a clean area that appears to be protected by an invisible wall. The group watches in shock as the storm appears to be in the distance. Nobody has signal on their phones and there's a creepy cross on the ground near a huge house. Clover puts her hand on the border between both areas to feel the rain. Suddenly she notices a figure on the road and thinks it's her sister, so she goes after it. Her ex-boyfriend Max sees her leave and worries because it's now getting dark in the clear area too, so he reaches into the rain to pull her back. The figure on the road is now gone. The rest of the group is inside checking out the house. There are many peculiar things like a calendar from 1998, a big hourglass, and pickaxes hung on the wall. The electricity still works but the water doesn't. Nina signs her name in the guest book. She looks at the other pages and discovers that many people including Melanie signed their names multiple times, but each time the handwriting got worse. Then Nina's boyfriend Abe finds a board with tons of flyers. When he starts removing the business ones, he finds a bunch of missing signs that also include Melanie. However, none of the signs have any information. When Clover comes inside, she sees that the guest book is titled Glore Valley and thinks that this confirms the figure she saw was her sister. Nina notices that the hourglass has been turned over, but everyone says it wasn't them. At that moment they hear a noise, so they look out the window and discover that their car is missing. They rush outside and find the car under the rain with the lights on, but when they try to get closer, the car threatens to run them over, so everyone rushes back inside. Megan, Max, and Clover decide to check the basement, which turns out to be a big living area. There are scratches on the windows and Max realizes there shouldn't be windows underground in the first place. They find a phone and a radio, but neither of them work. Upstairs, Abe hears a noise and goes to investigate. Suddenly a light goes out and Nina calls Abe's name, but he doesn't answer. She goes looking for him, and when she turns on the light, she's horrified to discover that the slasher has cut Abe in half. Nina screams and the others hear it, so Max volunteers to check on her. He carefully takes a peek and sees the slasher staring at Nina, who has been killed with a pickaxe. As the slasher turns around, Max rushes back downstairs and tells the girls to hide. Soon the slasher comes down too and Max hits him from behind with a chair, but it doesn't even make him flinch. Then Max tries to stab him with a chair piece, only for the slasher to easily take it and stab Max's head through his eye. While the slasher looks for more victims, Clover moves very carefully in the other room to grab a knife. Next the slasher breaks the closet door to drag Megan out. He throws her against the wall before repeatedly bashing her head on the ground to kill her. Clover uses the chance to stab his back with the knife, but once again the slasher is unbothered. A desperate Clover starts running away, seeing the other bodies on her way out. When she reaches the forest she trips and falls. The strange figure appears nearby and Clover tries to reach it, only for the slasher to kill her with the pickaxe. At that moment the hourglass reverses and the 5 friends reappear in the house at the moment they started to investigate. They all remember being killed and their pictures are now part of the missing poster collection. Megan says that she can feel something has taken hold of them. They start arguing over what to do but are interrupted by the lights flickering and the front door slamming. Abe goes to close it but it opens again, so they move some objects to block it. Feeling unwell, Megan takes a seat and explains that tonight is different. Suddenly her body starts twisting in creepy ways and her eyes turn white as she throws her head back to scream. The noise is so painful that the group has to cover their ears and light bulbs break, leaving the room dark. The friends turn on their phone flashlights and discover that Megan has disappeared. Then they hear a mumbling voice and follow it to find Megan floating in a trance in front of the flyers. She starts pointing at each missing sign and channels the victims' voices, repeating the things they said before they died. After screaming again, she tells her friends not to let them in before her neck breaks and she falls dead. Max wants to check on her but Abe advises him not to touch her in case the possession can change bodies. Next someone starts knocking on the door, but when Abe looks out the window, he doesn't see anyone. The knocking continues and the group is shocked to hear Melanie's voice begging for help. Clover wants to open the door but Abe stops her as he reminds her of Megan's warning. Melanie screams as more noises indicate that she's being attacked, so Max removes the objects blocking the door. Now Clover can rush outside, only to find nobody. On the other side of the road, an old shack has appeared with a message on the door insulting Glore Valley. Suddenly an invisible force throws Clover to the ground, and when Max tries to help her, he's pushed back into the house with the others before the door closes. The shack opens and the force drags Clover on the ground to drop her at the entrance. For a second she thinks she's fine, but then she's pulled inside and this door closes too. In the main house, Max keeps trying to open the door to no avail. When a noise indicates that the key finally opened it, Max wants to run out, but Abe stops him, pointing out that Clover is probably dead by now and they should run to get help. Nina agrees with him, however Max ignores them and leaves the house. In the house, Clover finds a bunch of creepy doll heads and an old lady using a mask to breathe. She's watching the news, which is talking about a mining accident in Glore Valley. Clover fails to open the door and the lady starts coming closer, explaining that the only way out is to either survive the night or become part of it. Then the woman throws Clover to the floor and makes her breathe through her mask, saying she must suffer like the cursed town. Clover's eyes turn black and the old lady turns into ashes. When Max reaches the shack, the door opens and he goes inside. Abe and Nina run to the car and drive out of the clear area. They're shocked to find a giant creature blocking the road, so they have no choice but to go back. Nina's door is locked and she can't get out. When she turns around, Abe is dead, and the slasher goes after her as she screams. Back to Max, he finds the shack empty. The TV only shows static and some papers on a table have drawings of monsters. Suddenly he hears a noise upstairs, so he makes his way up and enters a room with lots of creepy dolls and a rocking chair moving on its own. He stops it and tries to leave, but the noise restarts and a clown doll appears on the chair. Max grabs the clown and kicks it against the wall. Then he's startled by a presence behind him and realizes it's Clover wearing a mask. She slashes him to death before leaving the shack, only for the slasher to hit her with Abe's car. As she dies, her eyes go back to normal. At that moment the hourglass reverses again and everyone reappears in their original spots. Nina is signing the guest book for a third time and Megan's losing hair. Outside, a water tower has appeared. After blocking the doors with furniture, the friends hide in the bathroom. Abe fills a glass with tap water and Megan is surprised because it wasn't working during their first run. They all drink while listening to Clover's story, concluding that the woman is a witch and wondering what her words mean. Then Abe coughs up blood, so he cleans his hand on the shower curtain to hide it. However, his coughing keeps getting worse until his body explodes. Blood and guts fall on Nina's face, so she rushes to the sink to wash up, only for her body to explode too. Clover, Max, and Megan panic and run back to the hall, where Megan starts coughing too. Her leg explodes and makes her fall before her stomach begins to expand. After a few seconds of growing, it also explodes. Megan manages to move her body a little longer before another explosion kills her. Not wanting to end like that, Clover begs Max for mercy. He puts his hands around her throat, but he can't bring himself to do it and ends up exploding too. Clover falls to the ground as she hears some whistling and is shocked to see Hill entering the room. He says that she won't survive by sitting still and she explodes as well. The hourglass resets and everyone is revived again. While Megan notices that she's growing new teeth, the others search the house for clues. Clover finds a box with medical files and a bunch of IDs that reveal Hill worked in dozens of hospitals as a psychiatrist. There's also a newspaper with an article about a mining disaster in the area that happened 20 years ago. It killed over 1,000 people and Dr. Hill was brought in to work with the survivors. The whole town was swallowed by earth, which explains why there are no other houses around and why the basement has windows. That lower floor used to be above ground. Nina opens one of the basement doors and finds a very creepy tunnel, so she closes it again. Then Max finds some old VHS tapes and plays them on the TV. The first one is a dirty movie, but the next one shows Hill's experiments in the clinic. His patients were tired of dying and their bodies were suffering from it, like experiencing hair loss. One of the patients died while the other went so crazy that he started to eat his friend. Eventually he transformed into a Wendigo. Hill's voice explains that his longest test subject lasted 11 nights. At that moment Hill speaks to the group through the radio, explaining that 4 people can leave if the 5th dies. Abe thinks they should hear him out, but the others are horrified. Megan announces she can feel something and points at a desk drawer where Clover finds a map. It shows one of the clinics Hill used to work at and Clover guesses he's hiding there, but Abe points out there are no buildings left. She calls Hill on the radio to say she wants to meet him, so Hill tells her he's waiting in the forest with Melanie. A desperate Clover runs out of the house and ignores Max and the girls when they warn her it may be a trap. On the other hand, Abe thinks she did the right thing because 1 dead person is better than 5. Disgusted by his attitude, Nina stabs him in the back and sends the others to find Clover. Once the couple is alone, the slasher shows up to kill them both. In the forest, Clover accidentally steps on a bear trap. A shadow then pulls at the chains to drag her into the darkness. Soon Max and Megan also enter the forest and find the remains of the sunken town. They hear some weird noises and look up to find a Wendigo in a tree. The duo immediately starts running away, but Megan trips and lands on the skylight of a sunken house. As the glass starts to crack, Max grabs Megan's hand and starts pulling. However, the Wendigo grabs her by the ankle and breaks the glass, so both of them fall into the house. Max can only watch how Megan is dragged to her death. Meanwhile, Clover manages to crawl out of the darkness at the same time that Max finds her. At that moment, the shadow comes out too and reveals to be Melanie, who is also transforming into a Wendigo. Max removes the bear trap from Clover's leg and closes it around Melanie's face to capture her. Then he helps Clover run away and they hide at the entrance of the collapsed mine. They share a hug and discuss what may happen next before they hear the Wendigo coming. Once again, Clover asks for a merciful end, so Max uses a glass shard to slash her neck. After Clover dies, Max drinks some water from a leak and goes out to meet Melanie as he explodes. A flashback shows the day that Melanie left home to go to New York, claiming she wanted a better life. She asked her sister to come along, but Clover refused. Then Melanie turned into a Wendigo because this is actually a nightmare. Clover wakes up and finds herself in the house with the others except for Megan. This time they are in the living room instead of the usual spots. Abe feels something weird on his back and lifts his shirt, revealing that his body is already transforming. However, his friends say he is nothing. When Clover asks how many nights have been, Abe says it's been around 4, but Nina corrects him and shows them the book. Her signature is there 13 times and Clover compares it to the other guests, noticing nobody did more time. This means tonight is their last chance. When they look out the window, they discover more buildings have appeared outside. The group can't find Megan and Abe theorizes she became part of the night like the witch said. He doesn't understand why they can't remember some of the nights, so he takes out his phone, revealing he's been recording all the time. A video shows Clover with a worm in her cheek and her face getting infected. In another one, they're killed by a masked ghost in the corridor. In the next one, they found the boiler room, where a Wendigo tried to attack them and they stabbed it to death. After a clip of Nina with bleeding eyes, there's a recording of Hill checking on the bodies. Once he was gone, Megan appeared on the camera as the only survivor of night 12. She said that she'd find something that could help them, and the video ends with her leaving the house. At that moment, a siren starts echoing in the area and the group looks out the window to find all their enemies coming at the same time. Since running away hasn't worked, Clover grabs a pickaxe and announces she'll fight to save Megan, inspiring the others to help her. They leave through the tunnel in the basement and find a sunken house that they enter through the window. There's a Wendigo in another room and the group tries to stay quiet, but the creature finds them anyway and immediately attacks. When it tackles Nina to the ground, Clover stabs its leg with the pickaxe to trap it. The group then starts running as more Wendigos arrive because they heard all the noise. After running through several rooms, the friends enter mine tunnel and cross it until they find another sunken house, which they enter through the garage door. Unfortunately, the slasher appears on the skylight and breaks it to jump in. Max throws objects at him to keep him distracted, which allows Clover to leave alone. In an open area in the mines, Clover finds Melanie, who immediately knocks her sister down. Clover tries to take the stairs, but Melanie grabs her to make her fall. Raising her hands in a sign of peace, Clover uses gentle words to try to make her sister see reason to no avail. Then she tackles Melanie and makes her land on a stake that finally kills her. Before leaving, Clover tells Melanie that she loves her. Meanwhile, the others are working together to fight the slasher, using various objects to bring him down. Once he collapses, the friends lift a very heavy hammer together and smash his head to kill him. Sadly, they can hear the Wendigos coming and they have to run. Back to Clover, she continues searching the mines, only stopping to hide from a Wendigo when it gets too close. Then she finally finds the clinic and follows Megan's screams to a locked room. Megan is tied to a chair and a crazy Wendigo is chained to the wall next to her. A desperate Clover looks for the keys in other rooms until he makes it to the office, where she finds her file on a desk and security cameras that record the whole area. Suddenly Hill comes in and locks the door. While sipping his coffee, Hill explains that Glore Valley has been using Clover's terror like a battery to make things run and that the monsters are a manifestation of Clover's own fears. When he puts the mug down, Clover waits for him to turn around and moves it under a ceiling leak. Soon Hill drinks more coffee and ends up exploding. Now Clover can take Hill's keys and runs to rescue Megan. The Wendigo finally frees itself from the wall, but the girls work together to push the door and lock it up before it can reach them. Both halves of the group run as fast as possible as the Wendigos come after them. Nina's group takes the stairs and manages to come out. However, Clover and Megan have to dig like Melanie and appear under the cross. The Wendigos try to pull them back, but the others arrive just in time to help them escape. The last grain of sand falls in the hourglass, however this time it doesn't reset. The storm disappears outside and the area returns to normal, so the friends gets in the car to finally leave. Sometime later, a new group of people arrives and Hill's whistling can be heard. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.